Bam! Welcome to BAM BIZ TALK. I am here with Mike Schlatman from Brooktown. How you doing, Mike?
Brooklyn in the house. How's it going, Angel? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely, yeah. I'm glad you decided to come on board because we got lots to talk about.
We do.
For sure. So, Mike, you are the owner of Tall City Bagel.
That's correct.
Awesome. Now, I've had the bagel. It's good.
Well, I appreciate that. That means a lot coming from you.
Man, it's we've had you out here at a BAM event, and it made some noise. A lot of people really enjoyed it, and it's not like your store-bought bagel because you're making it.
Right. Yep.
You're actually making the dough that becomes the bagel.
Right.
And then you're about to start another company. It's called Coney Island Dogs of Midland.
Yep, bringing another great New York taste to the Bourbon Basin.
And that one, you're going to be serving from right here in the BAM parking lot.
We are. Thursdays and Fridays. 11:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then as summer progresses, we'll go probably into later hours when we get more sunlight.
Man, I love it. Can't wait to taste the Coney dog, man.
Yeah.
So, Mike, being from New York, from Brooklyn, right? You're a long ways from home, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Long ways from home. So, tell us about yourself. Who's Mike? And, how did you get here to West Texas?
Well, as you said, I'm from New York City originally. When I got out of the Army, I actually moved to California, and I started to get into IT. At first, I was just messing mostly with stuff with Macintosh, Apple OS, and then I started getting into Linux. And then from there, I just really got an interest in IT type stuff and networking. So I went into that for a long time. Starting out from there with learning TCP/IP and networking and IP protocols and that sort of stuff. And I started getting the network security. And I messed around with some ISPs I worked at for a while and got some experience with that. And then that got me more into moving from Apple, which I still use myself, more into Linux and Unix. All my computers, I have a desktop and I have a laptop, and of course they got the Mac OS, but they also boot up, Linux as well. I mean, I live in Linux. From there, I just basically kept pursuing with it, and I got my first job as a data center monkey. Taking customers' computers that came in and setting them up on the racks and setting up the IP ranges and that sort of stuff. And just from there, I just grew up the administrative ladder of doing stuff in the data center and eventually becoming a server administrator.
A server administrator. So basically, you're just maintaining the servers that operate the internet.
Right, exactly. And then monitoring stuff with as far as DOS attacks and that sort of stuff. Network security.
Security.
Yep.
Okay. That's a big thing nowadays, man. For sure. We should probably get into the AI discussion a little later, right?
Yeah, sure.
So okay, California, IT,
Yeah. So then I ended up moving to the Kansas City area in Independence and continued some work there. I was working with Comcast, and eventually I got the whole department got laid off. The whole department shipped to outsource into India. So after working in IT for so many years, I was thinking, I don't know if I still want to do this. And meanwhile, for about 5 years, at that point, I was also doing a hockey podcast called Pucksters. Which was a twice-a-week podcast where we featured enforcers of both the past from the old NHL days, that are retired now or moved on, and then some of the upcoming players too, from the minor pro leagues like the ECHL, the AHL. For here, it'd be basically equivalent to like the Rockhounds, what they are for the A's. Right. These are the teams, for the NHL. They're up and coming players, and it was mostly enforcers, so it was a lot of fun.
Gotcha.
We did that live via Skype, using Skype video, and they'd call in, and we'd connect and do a live stream of that on Twitch. So with losing, getting pink slipped and getting laid off and all that, and wanting to maybe do something different, I found out about this thing called van life, and it sounded really cool. And it was basically, traveling in a van that you convert into, basically a home on wheels. So I took the idea and talked to some of the, the team managers and some of the players that had been on my podcast and so forth, and ran the idea of what if instead of doing it by Skype, we traveled to them and did all the interviews in the locker rooms or the press box, and everyone just loved the idea, and no one else was doing it at the time at the, at the hockey level that we were. So I went out and I bought a Econoline van and converted into basically a home on wheels, and had running water, solar panels on the roof, everything, and off we went on the road for 18 months. And it was awesome. A lot of fun, basically living the hockey dream. I played hockey myself all my life, so, that was, the life for me. It was like, wow, So we were out in El Paso doing some stuff with the El Paso Rhinos. And after we're done there, we're supposed to do an interview with the Jackalopes here. And then we're going back to the Dallas area to do some stuff with the Texas Stars, which is the AHL affiliate for the Dallas Stars. And as we're coming through the Gapalachi Mountains, all of a sudden the van started making this really loud noise that, the whole time on the road we never heard. And it just started getting slower and slower on the climb. But then once we got up to the top of the hill, it was fine again. And, we just continued on. And then all of a sudden when we got into, as we came into Midland before Odessa. And while we're out on the loop, all of a sudden the van just made that noise, but even louder, and it just kicked into like 10 miles an hour. So you can imagine being on the loop doing 10 miles an hour and not being able to speed up past that, and all the cars behind you honking. And so we found a Target, the one on the loop. So I pulled into there thinking maybe I can get something for the engine. Went in, got some engine honey, poured it in, went in the back, went to sleep for the night, and woke up the next morning, tried to turn it over. Nothing. It was completely dead.
Yep.
So got out my phone, found a mobile mechanic on Facebook, and they came out and took a look at it. And, he's all, well, sir, I have some bad news for you and some worse news for you. I'm all, well, okay, let's do the bad news first, I guess.
Might
first,
well,
right?
Set up the worst news. Come on.
Exactly. So he's all, well, unfortunately, your whole top cylinder is completely blown out. I was like, okay.
That's not good.
That's really not good, and what can actually be worse than that? And he's like, well, unfortunately, your whole bottom cylinder is blown out, too.
Jeez.
Because this is a V10 diesel, so it had, cylinders on both. And he said basically it's going to cost $5,000 or $6,000 to basically find a new used engine and, replace it. So here we are in some town called Midland we never even heard of, and basically stranded, and a couple $100 in our pocket. And so we actually found a dually truck. Someone told us about the Salvation Army here and how they had the shelter and the food, and we gave them a call, and they were cool about bringing the van out there and leaving it in the parking lot and coming in and using their services as needed, and et cetera.
You just have to tow it over there?
Right.
Man.
So got lucky
cheap.
and found a guy in the parking lot that had a dually, and he agreed to go ahead and chain it and tow us over there, just pulling it. So
Good.
So that worked out. That saved us, a good chunk of money on towing, because, that would have been money right there, too.
For sure. Hey, West Texas, right, it does have some friendly people.
They do.
And they're willing to lend a hand out.
They do. A lot of friendly people here. I get some of the people, oh, you're a Yankee, or this and that, but for the most part, everyone's been really nice here so far, and we really love it, and it's grown on us, and this is why we're here now and staying here.
So you just decided to stay. Like, what was that, from being broke down here to like, oh, where is this place? We're trying to get out of here. But how long you been here?
A little over 3 years.
That's a long stay, man.
So actually, the kicker with deciding to stay here was after we broke down. That was in January of 2020. Next month later, COVID hit.
Yep, been there.
So. And I was going to be working in the kitchen at the Salvation Army to raise some money to fix our engine and get back on the road. And basically, the day I was supposed to report, they tell me that unfortunately, due to this outbreak in COVID now, that they had a hiring freeze, and so they couldn't hire me. So I just went back to doing odd jobs and stuff. I met this guy Dennis. He has a little landscaping company where he cleans parking lots and stuff, and I was working with him for a while. He had some contracts. We'd clean like the Best Buy parking lot and a few of the others and stuff like that. So So it was some cash money, and we were able to eat at the Salvation Army to save money. And
yeah, how long did you do that?
so we got first stimulus check. So then with basically the whole country still being locked down, and sports ended, and hockey was starting to play again, but it was like where it was just no fans were allowed or anything like that. It was just completely just empty arenas with the teams playing. So decided probably the best bet would be, because who knows how long it was going to be till we'd be back on the road and get the engine fixed and all that. Took the stimulus check and we got an apartment.
Okay. Yeah.
So
made Midland home.
Yeah, made Midland home, and I started my first company shortly after that, which I still do some for regular customers, but mostly I'm focused now on the bagels and now the hot dogs because it just got way too expensive with the ingredient cost rise and all that. But I actually started here as a keto bakery, and a lot of people know me around town as Keto Mike.
Keto Mike.
Yep.
Keto Mike in the mix.
So I've been on keto a little over 5 years myself, and I found out about Farmers Market once we got the apartment and all that, when things started to open back up around in June. I think it was like June or July of 2020.
Yeah.
So I contacted them thinking, well, I'm going to be here a while. It'd be cool maybe to meet some people, talk about keto. And so they tell me, well, you got to sell something. So I said, okay, well, what if I just do some keto cookies? And they're like, great. And I have my food handler's permit already from getting that to work at the kitchen and Farmers Market. So they told me, basically I just had to have that, which I had, and pay the $20 fee it was at the time for the booth for the 3 or 4 hours, whatever it was. I think it was 4 hours because it was summer. Yeah. So made some cookies, went down, set up, didn't have a tent or anything yet. I was just sitting out there in the sun at the table, some cookies out, and thinking, I wouldn't meet, sell anything. I'd just maybe meet somebody and talk and, maybe gain a friend here now. And next thing I know, I started having all these people coming up to the booth or the table, and they're like, wow, you got keto? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, wow. And I sold out in 45 minutes. And here I was not even expecting to make the $20 back, and they were gone.
Nice.
And then I got home that afternoon, and I had people messaging me on Facebook already asking, can I pay you now for next week to make us more stuff, or can I pick it up during the week? And I'm just sitting there reading the messages. I got slammed with them too, like 7 or 8 people.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, wow, you want to pay me now for next week? We're struggling to get back on our feet and all that. So, yeah, definitely.
Sure.
And just it really took off, as and a lot of people know. I mean, it was really popular for almost 2 years, and unfortunately, with all the cost of the ingredients, it got just too slow, where I had to do something else, because I still have my diehard keto customers. But the people that were buying it just because they heard of me or heard it was good or just want something healthy to eat, $5 for a brownie. I mean, yeah, sure, why not? But when they come up and see it's $8 or $10, oh, I'm not gonna get that. Yeah. I can go get that at Walmart, So it is what it is. But so that was that, and so I started doing pretzels and brats at summer at Farmers Market, and that went really well.
Pretzels and brats.
Yep. And
I'm gonna be hungry. I'm gonna be hungry by the time we get done.
Right? Yeah. Me too. I'm always hungry. Even on keto, I'm still fat. But yeah. So, it was. I took, and then I decided to take August and December off for Farmers Market, due to it was just getting way too hot and breaking down at noon and 1 o'clock in the afternoon when it was 103, 104 degrees. Yep. It was just getting too much. So.
Yeah, West Texas don't play with that. Man.
So then I was going to come back the Farmers Market and do the new bagels I was starting to do, because people were like, hey, so what, because I said I'm thinking of doing something for the fall. What do you guys want? And everyone started saying, well, you're from New York. You know how to make a good bagel? And I said, well, actually, I do. I come from a bagel family. My uncle has a bagel shop out in Long Island, and my cousin has a bagel shop down in South Jersey. So I knew all the the ways to make it, with the hand rolling and the boiling, and what temperature to set the boiling pot at, and all that. So I was like, yeah.
You had done some time in the kitchen over there, huh?
So. So I was like, yeah, we could. I bet you that would work. Everyone's, oh yeah, please do bagels, please do bagels. And the first day, it just took off. I had, I think, 14 orders the first day, and it just stayed consistent since. And then we started, everyone started saying that we need to get into a brick and mortar, and You know, I couldn't afford that myself, but everyone's like, well, what if you do? I guess there's a coffee place here that I found out called Far West Coffee, and I guess they started out basically doing kind of like what I'm doing too. Is like right now I have the cart. I guess they started with the cart, and they did crowdfunding and taking the money through the months of between working the cart and the crowdfunding and getting to their brick and mortar. And that's what my customers told me what I should start doing, and that's what we've been doing. We've been slowly, crowdfunding towards brick and mortar. And now that I bought the cart, I'm making some more money than I did from baking from home, because now I'm, licensed by the county of Midland to be the same thing as a food truck, where I can do, bacon, egg, and cheese, and all kind, all the schmears and the block sandwiches and all that. So, it's bringing in a lot more income, which is great.
That's awesome. That's good. Yeah. So you're bootstrapping.
Yeah.
Good old American bootstrapping.
Yep. The way to do it. So
as an entrepreneur, man, so you're going through it right now.
I am.
You're banging it out, grinding. Much respect for that.
Well, thank you.
It's not easy.
It's not.
Man. Every day you're pushing, you're doing something. Especially when what you're doing is you're making from scratch.
Right.
Right. Like it's like a traditional make. It's not like you're buying some Sam's bagels and heating them up, and throwing some sour cream on it, right? Like talk to me about the schmear. Just the name itself, I've never heard before, right? Because I'm not from New York, so
right.
but that's like it makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? Smear it on there. So talk about what is the smear?
Right. New York came up with it basically just as a fancy term for cream cheese. Because New York way, of course, everything's different in New York than everywhere else, because New York always has to be different. The smear is actually what they call the double whip process, where you first make your normal cream cheese, and then from there it goes back into the mixing bowl again, and you add powdered sugar to it. You add some heavy whipping cream and that sort of stuff, and give it a second whip, so it gets more firm yet soft at the same time, and it just gets that real creamy compared to like how when you open up a thing of Philadelphia cream cheese or something, where it's just this hard block that you're like, wow, what do I do with this? Cutting it and trying to spread it on, and the bagel's coming apart, and where this just goes right in it, it's just smooth like butter.
Yeah. So at what point do you put the ingredients in it? For the beginning, you put the ingredients?
You make the cream cheese first, and then once that's done, then you add in some powdered sugar and some heavy whipping cream, and then you do another whip of it a second time. And that mixes in with the cream cheese to make it softer and more spreadable.
Gotcha. All right.
And then the powdered sugar gives it a little bit of more flavor, too, so it's not that bland, just cream cheese taste.
Yeah, yeah. And then even your bagels, like, it depends what you make them with as well, right? Because I know you did a collaboration with Eccentric Brewery.
Right.
Tell us about that. What was that?
Yeah, they came out with a new flavor, and we went and ran with it. We did some stuff with Eccentric before, as far as doing stuff like that as well with some of the keto stuff. Like something became very popular for me that I actually kept after St. Patrick's Day was I made an Irish car bomb brownie. And that was a stout in the brownie itself, and then the buttercream had Jameson and Bailey's Irish cream mixed into the buttercream, and then some chocolate, and made it into a chocolate frosting on top of the brownie. And for the stout, I started using Eccentric beer. I was using their F&J, which is a really, really good stout beer. It's definitely comparable to Guinness. I'll be as bold to say as it's even actually better than Guinness. I think
it's better. I agree.
It's better than Guinness. And we did that, and it became real popular. And everywhere I went, people started asking for it. And then they came out with their strawberry stout, their raspberry stout. That was it, raspberry. Mm-hmm. And we did that as well, and that was a big hit as well. So
when they just use it as like the water base for the dough, or how are you using it?
For the keto, I was mixing it into the dough, so it would mostly cook out, so it would have the flavor, but it wouldn't have all the carbs and stuff like the beer would when you eat it. You know, because I was trying to keep it as low carb as possible. Right. I mean, it still had a little extra carbs, but YOLO, you live once.
Yeah, there you go.
So, but as far as the pretzel bagels I was doing, I was actually putting their stout into they came out with a new stout for one run, and I actually put that into the boiling water that I used to boil my bagels along with some barley, and it gave it a real good flavor, and it kept it in the bagel, and you could really taste it. It was really good, and then it was just rolled in some really thick pretzel salt, and it just came out real good.
Yeah, I think that's the one that I had.
Right.
Yeah, that was good stuff, man.
Yeah. Yeah, MRT actually did an interview with me on that as well.
On that same
on that particular bagel. So
nice.
Yeah.
So since you started this, bringing New York to West Texas, pretty much, right? Like, what are some of the compliments that people like? I've never had in New York, or what do you hear a lot?
Yeah, I hear that a lot. Wow, these bagels are nothing like I've ever tasted before, and and then I get I have a lot of customers who are spent time in New York, or or like me from New York living here now, and they just love it. I mean, I've had people tell me that they've moved from other areas, even in Texas and stuff, where they have New York style bagel bakeries, and they've been here 10, 15 years and never been able to find a bagel like mine since. So
nice.
And they love it, and I have a ton of repeat customers. And
yeah, I bet. So it's because when you were here at our event, I saw Dan Crowless walking out with bags.
Yep.
Of nothing but bagels. Like he was the bagel run, doing the bagel run.
He's one of my biggest customers.
Oh, man.
But he spent a lot of time in Brooklyn, too. He went
up
to
there, so he
Brooklyn
knows.
Law School and all that.
Yeah.
And I guess he did some work before law school there as well, he was telling me about.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff. So
yeah, so I've talked with Dan and then a couple other people that are, have been to New York, live there, and they're like, oh, yeah, man, it tastes just like you're in New York.
Right.
So what do you do, like, because I know the water has to be a certain pH, or how do you...
Right, certain pH, it has to be a certain temperature. And right now I'm just using natural spring water. But once we do move into our brick and mortar, we're going to take it to the next step. I found a company that has a filtration system where they actually measure your water, the pH and all the chemicals and stuff, and then they send you filters and codes based on your water, where they specialize in New York, but will be able to make the water taste like any water anywhere in the world. So, like, if we ever decide one day to make some sourdough bread, we can get the code for San Francisco, put that in, and get it tasting just like San Francisco water for the sourdough, for making the feed for that and stuff. But yeah, there's companies all around the United States that are using it, and they're noticing, their customers are noticing it. Some places that are at the point where they're actually selling just cups of water to people that live there now that, are former New Yorkers that just miss that taste so much that they're actually going in just to buy a cup of New York City taste just like tap, ice water. Huh. And then same thing, we'll use it in our bagels. Once we have our brick and mortar, we'll also be expanding to New York pizza.
Y'all heard it here first.
Yep. It'll be the ice cubes for our fountain sodas and stuff, and then of course we're already doing a New York coffee as well, where we're actually importing a bean in from Brooklyn, New York, that's roasted there, and it's got a real ultra dark roast to it. It's an Italian blend, and people are loving it. I mean, we had people come up to the booth that, up to our cart, that aren't even buying the bagels. They're just coming for the coffee, and and that's all they want that day. And another day they'll come back and get a coffee and bagel or whatever. But we have people some days just coming for that coffee. And when we did Basin Brunch 2 weeks ago on Saturday, that was a big hit. Everyone was, even though they had the mimosas and all that, people were also coming up for our coffee because it was so strong, so they can drink it, sober up real quick, and then go hit the mimosas again.
Yeah.
So
reset.
Yeah. Reset, redrink.
I mean, it's a long day out here. Yes, sir. Wow. Okay. So you got a lot going on. So what you're telling me as an entrepreneur is that you have future plans and milestones you're trying to achieve.
Right. Yep.
And you have a clear goal of how you're going to get there?
Yeah. We want to bring as many great tastes of New York as we can to the Basin. Our next step will be, once we get in our brick and mortar and we get settled in, we're getting everything going with the bagels, and hopefully continue with the hot dogs as well. So far, it's looking like, just from the hype of announcing it today before the interview, people are really excited about it. So I think it's going to be something that's going to grow too, and hopefully it gets to the point where it'll be able to, fulfill itself, where we have the bagel shop, we can have that cart we're using now outside and keep that just New York hot dogs on it. And then we want to start getting into, because we're using pizza ovens for our bagels. So we'll have the same equipment where we want to move in. Next up, we'll be moving into New York Pizza as well.
Ah, okay. So you're using the same equipment.
Right.
Got you. Okay, so that's smart.
Yep.
Okay. So what makes a Coney Island dog? What makes a New York dog? How's the New York dog different from any other dog?
One is the onions with the push cut. They call it the push cart onions and sauce. It's not just diced up onions at all. It's got a whole sauce built into it that the onions roast in, and it's real smooth. And then, of course, is what's known as, it's not really dirty, but it's known as dirty water. It's gotten that name just because the seasoning that you put into the water and let it boil before you put the hot dogs in to steam them gets a real like cloudy like texture to them and stuff. So the water looks like it's dirty, and and then. But it's clean water. It's fresh water. It's just the seasonings do that. So that's the real secret to New York dogs is that dirty water.
Mm-hmm. Dirty
where
water.
Most places they grill their hot dogs or they just steam them or throw them in the oven or whatever.
So it's a boil.
Right.
Okay.
It's like a steam boil.
Steam boil.
Because you boil the water first while it's got the flavors in it. And then you bring it down to a low, so you just steam the hot dogs in it. And it soaks up that water, and it soaks up the seasoning into the hot dog.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's what makes a New York dog.
Yep.
And then you're going to get into pizzas, and the pizza's going to be New York styles? Or?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Everything's New York style.
Yeah, hand-tossed.
Okay.
Which I'm going to have to learn, because I'm not that good with that yet, but we'll get there.
Practice, right?
Yep. When I make my own, I always hand-toss. Usually 3 or 4 tries, a couple times first lands on the floor, and gotta make another one. But you get it eventually.
Yeah. And how about the cheese? Like, are you gonna make the cheese special, or how you?
No. There's no really secret cheese in New York. It's just getting a real good quality mozzarella.
The mozzarella, right?
Yeah, and of course a scratch-made sauce with lots of rosemary and sage and that sort of stuff in it to give it a real bang and Italian taste.
Man, I like that.
Yeah.
That's gonna be exciting.
Bam, bang.
Bang. Like it, man. So there's a lot going on here in Midland, right?
There are.
And I see that you're everywhere, man. I see you. I run into you all the time.
I'm busy out there promoting. Trying to put my product into new people's hands, and out there anywhere I can to try and sell the product so more people find out about it. And we're growing. A few months ago, we were 1,300 people on Facebook. We just hit 2,700 followers the other day for Tall City Bagel.
Moving, man.
And if you're not following us yet, you're doing it wrong, and you should be following us at tallcity.bagel on Instagram and Facebook.
Where can they find you on like Saturdays and Sundays?
Saturday and Sunday, we have a lot we're using right up the street from you guys, right next door to Midland Self Storage. It's like 2 blocks up, and they're letting us use their lot. So we set up there on Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday, and then Thursdays and Fridays are going to be here at BAM.
Right. Yep.
Man,
and Saturday and Sunday's Bagels. At BAM it'll be the hot dogs.
Thursday, Friday here at BAM.
Yep.
Saturday, Sunday out there on Big Spring.
Yep.
Right down the road.
Yep.
Man, so that's pretty awesome, man. Are you eyeing out a brick and mortar right now? Are you looking at something, or is that something that's still you're off in the future planning?
We've been looking. The problem is finding something that's affordable. A lot of the stuff that's already zoned as restaurants are just too big, so the rent would just be way too expensive because it's 3,000 to 7,000 square foot. And anything small, everything's zoned as retail, and that's just going to take way too much construction and cost to bring that to the codes that need to be to rezone it to a restaurant. Right. Actually, we thought we found a really great location. We looked out over where Popcorn Premier was when they closed, because I found out they had the duct already. They had they had all the sinks, all that. But because they were only making popcorn there, it turned out they were only zoned for retail. So their ventilation system, even though it had the duct, they didn't have the fire suppression or anything like that in it. So that would all had been added, and that right there is $4,000 or $5,000 just to have that. Yeah. And then everything else, it has to be brought up the code to go to restaurant.
Right, right. So, what are alternatives? Maybe looking at a food truck type deal, or
No, I think until we get our brick and mortar, we're just going to stick with the cart. I mean, I don't really see the point of really going from the cart to the food truck because I'm basically doing everything already that I can in the food truck, and it's just more overhead. We are looking at the Summit Center, the new place getting ready that's going to be opening next year over on Mockingbird.
Okay.
Which is going to be a mixture of I guess there's going to be restaurants there, food courts. There's going to be regular retail stores, and I guess a park area, and I guess a bar, and they got musical entertainment.
Yeah.
So, but I've spoke with them, and we've gone back and forth a few times. Everything sounds really interesting and good, but the construction phase we're in currently, they're not at the point yet where they can bring people in to start touring the property and all that. So that's basically on hold, but that's really honestly where we're looking at. Or if that doesn't work out, maybe something at the shopping center that's going to open when they put in the Bass Pro Shop. Because that's going to be a big shopping center as well.
Yeah, for
Plus,
sure.
I guess there's a big entertainment concert center going in and all that there. So that's another place.
Yeah, and then, I mean, there's all kinds of places popping up. There's even a Par 3 coming into town. I mean, Midland is really about to expand here in the next several years.
As long as Einstein Bagel stays out now. They're even a totally different kind of bagel than we are, so.
Not so much competition then.
Right.
Huh? But when people hear bagel, it's the same thing. You know
right.
What I mean? Yeah.
It's teaching people what the New York bagel is compared to the bagel of the rest of the world, and then I guess a shout out to Montreal bagels as well because they're a unique style as well. But
okay.
So you basically your generic bagel where a lot of the chain stores and grocery stores and Einstein's and stuff sells. Then you have the Montreal bagels, and then of course you have the New York bagels, the best bagels in the world.
So you have to educate me here. Montreal bagel, it's like a brand.
It's a style, kind of like how different areas do pizza.
Uh-huh.
They hand roll just like New York, but they don't boil. And then they make them in like a brick fire oven instead of like a traditional electric, like pizza oven.
Right.
So they use like the same style of ovens that like when you make a brick oven pizza and stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
and you said you're going to be using ovens, right? Pizza ovens?
Right.
But not brick oven?
No, it'll be the old style New York with the, where they go in with a single door and shove in, close the door and cook.
Gotcha. Because I know you've seen De Casa. You know, that's a really nice setup right there.
It is.
Yeah.
And they're brick oven.
Yeah, it's a brick oven.
And actually they do bagels once in a while too, but not regularly. And they do a Montreal bagel.
Oh, wow, okay. Didn't know that, but they're set up for it.
Yep.
Because that is one mean truck, man.
It is. And now they're getting ready for their brick and mortar as well, and they're parking their truck at the brick and mortar.
Right at the brick, yeah. So there's some really great businesses who have done what you're running up against.
Yeah. A lot of food trucks have moved to brick and mortar soon already, and they're all doing great. So, I mean, that's giving me the incentive to know that we have the same kind of customer following that we're going to do great as well. I mean, shout out to my homie Ruben. I mean, Pachuco's, they're killing it from a small little beer truck style food truck to a medium to that T-Rex that was like a big fire engine
Big Rex.
to now taking over Johnny's Barbecue. I mean, and they're busy. I mean, any time of the day you go in there, they're busy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
and
I get invited to go to lunch, and they're like 12. They're like, no, we better go like 11:30 before it hits, or we'll be sitting there waiting.
Yeah, go there before the door opens.
Or the food's going to run out,
And same thing with Buffalo Joe's. They're doing great, too. They're a food truck, and they moved into that old steakhouse downtown.
Yeah.
And they're killing it, too. And De Casa's doing really well, like we said, with their food truck, and they're getting ready to open their brick and mortar. I know most days I follow them on Instagram, and I know most days they sell out.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to all those guys, man. Yep. It's impressive how they started out as just a food truck, but then they scaled.
Right.
And, I remember this was a decade ago, when food trucks weren't a thing here. Right. There's maybe one or two. And, what we used to call back in the day, the roach coaches.
Right. Yep.
But it was nothing like what's been happening here in the last several years.
Right.
It's almost like a food revolution of sorts.
Right.
It goes across the board. Eccentric Brewery, right? There's actual craft beer here.
Yeah.
Which 10 years ago, you wouldn't have seen that, Mike.
Right.
Like, it would have been a hard sell just to sell a craft beer here. right? But now here over the last couple of years, it's opened up.
Right. Yeah.
You know, more tastes, more flavors are coming in. There's a culture that's developing, you know, on top of the culture that was here before, and it's expanding people's horizons. It's getting them to experience life a little bit more.
Right.
You know, because, you know, we've talked on this podcast before. It's like it was hard to bring a business idea, concept that was from a larger city because it wasn't here yet. You know.
Right.
But now that it's kind of seeped in, now you're starting to see the fruits of that. You know, these food trucks that are going into their brick and mortar and making it a unique experience.
Right.
You know, you go into Buffalo Joe's. You go into Buffalo Joe's, it's a totally different concept than you would think from the outside. You walk in, and the wings are fantastic.
Yeah, they gotta be the best wings in Midland.
Best in the area.
I mean, I got some other buddies that do wings. I'm sorry, you guys rock, but nobody beats Buffalo Joe's.
Buffalo Joe's got it on lock.
Just like Eccentric. I mean, there's other brew companies here, but Eccentric's got it. I mean, I think last year I read they got voted #1 craft beer at the Rockhound games. And
yep.
They're always coming out with new flavors and. Yeah, and then you got Jamie that really cares about the music scene as well. And,
that is awesome.
You know, bringing in all this new songwriter stuff and all the new bands, and
I'm loving that. Loving that.
Jamie's really bringing a whole new culture to Midland, and it's great.
Definitely.
Big props and shout out to him as well.
Absolutely. Big shouts out to Eccentric, Jamie,
Following
and Aaron over there. Yeah. And then you got, you know, and then Aaron, you know, he's the mad scientist.
Right.
You know, so I'm a craft beer aficionado, right? I've been across the country, had micro brews from coast to coast. Eccentric is in the top.
Yeah.
They're in the top 5 easy, you know. It's that's how good it is, you know.
Right.
And the diversity, you know, of what he makes, you know, it's crazy.
Right.
Like you mentioned a raspberry stout earlier. I think at one point he had a peanut butter stout, you know, it just some wild stuff. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, so there's just a lot going on here. Then you're coming from Brooktown and bringing
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Okay, what is Brooktown? Something different?
I think Brooktown is in Massachusetts. I think it's like in the Boston area.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think it's like in the Cambridge area, Brooktown.
Gotcha. Okay. See, over here we just throw something with town behind it.
Right. Midtown.
Midtown. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, man. But yeah, I think it's Midland, West Texas is ready.
It is
for change. It's ready for new things to come in. Like here at BAM, we want to be part of that new. You know, what's new, what's fresh. You know, like my partner Michael, he always says, keep it new, keep it fresh, keep it exciting.
Yep.
You know, and if a city as a whole can come together to do that, if communities can come together, then we got something cooking here.
Right.
We got something good. We got some movement coming. We got different aspects, you know, of your palate, right? Of your mind, you know, of what you're listening to, you know, local music. Because local music before was just cover bands,
right?
You know, and there's some really good musicians here, you know, and the majority of them would love to play original music. Mm-hmm. But the problem was 10 years ago,
people doing it to make a band out of it,
right? You know, 10 years ago, you come to try and play original music, you're gonna get 2 or 3 people be like, oh, that was cool,
right?
You know. Led Zeppelin, you know, play some Led Zeppelin, right? Or play something, Aerosmith, or, you know, some Metallica, you know, like, okay, that's cool. But how about this original song that you've never heard before?
Right.
Right? How about these 4 or 5 songs that you've never heard before that I wrote myself, that I wrote the music to? You know, so that's coming in. That's what you're talking about, the Jamie's bringing, the singer-songwriter. Because right now in Lubbock, that's doing really hot. Right, in surrounding towns. So, you know, that's a college scene, right? And, you know, Austin, middle of Texas, they've been doing that for decades. You know, that's what make Austin great, the music and the food. So, and the beer, right? The life, that kind of lifestyle, you know, where it's more open, try different things, bring in different things, because everybody's unique, everybody's different. Right. You know, so let's get away from the cookie cutter stuff.
And we're starting to see that more and more now here too, even with our food trucks. I mean,
Yes.
we have Jam and Naaman's now with that amazing Jamaican food. Have you tried theirs?
No, I haven't.
They're usually at the golf course church on Friday nights. And
Okay.
you got to try the Rasta pasta. It's
Rasta
really
pasta.
It's
That's awesome.
It's a pasta with a curry chicken on top with vegetables, and it's amazing.
Okay.
And yeah, they're originally from Jamaica, and then funny to say, actually, after Jamaica, they actually immigrated to Brooklyn, and then eventually landed here in Midland.
Ah,
So
that's interesting.
yeah, so I thought that was really cool when I first met them, and when I was doing some DJ stuff, they used to come out because I was DJing reggae at Eccentric.
Yeah.
Trying to get that going. And they used to come out as my food truck most of the times too, because the Jamaican music and the Jamaican food, and everyone dug that, so that was really good.
Yeah.
And then you got a new food truck that's really killing it too, called Grinders.
Grinders. I've
Dirty
heard.
Grinders. Dirty Grinders. That's it. Dirty Grinders, and they're not dirty, just like dirty water. But they make amazing sandwiches.
Okay.
Of course, there's Smoked Souls.
Oh man, Smoked Souls gets down.
That
Yes.
catfish and that cheeseburger. And then another one with the great cheeseburger is Gilly's, another food truck that
Gilly's
went
gets
brick
down.
and mortar. And now he's in 2 locations. He's got his own spot in Greenwood, and then he's also set up like how Murray's is in the tailgate. He's got a little thing now inside Roosters.
Ah.
So he's got a Gilly's in Roosters. So that's doing really well, and his food's always been nailed too.
Wow.
And then of course Texas Fudge. I mean, you can't beat that cheesecake. I mean, even as a New Yorker, I'm going to say they got the best cheesecake in Midland.
Okay.
And that's one of the main reasons why I really haven't ventured into cheesecake is because, Texas Fudge is already doing it. There doesn't need somebody to come in and do another good cheesecake. They own it. They own it. So.
There you go. I'm going to have to try it because I'm a cheesecake. That's my kryptonite.
Yeah.
Cheesecake's my kryptonite. I'll dive in. Don't test me.
Yeah. It's the best thing since Junior's. And
Junior's.
I mean, that's the cheesecake.
Yeah? That's New York cheesecake?
Yeah.
Okay.
But they actually deliver, they ship on, I think it's like, what's that site called? Flat Belly or something?
Uh-huh. They dry ice it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes it expensive, so it's nice to
sure.
just go to Texas Fudge, and, it's equally as good, and, it's not the high price of all the shipping and all that.
So do they have is it like a food truck or do they have a brick and mortar? What do they have?
It's a food truck.
Okay.
And they're also on Friday nights at the golf course church, too.
Okay.
That's a great place for Friday nights for some food trucks.
Ah. See, man, you got that food truck lock, scene on lock, man.
Yeah,
You follow
I was
them.
down there for a bit, too, when I was doing keto. I used to set up down there sometimes on Friday.
Ah, okay.
So
that's how you got to meet a lot.
Right. Yeah, I met a lot of people as far as food trucks and restaurants and other vendors and stuff from farmers market through the keto stuff. And with the cart, that's the only kind of bad thing about it is I'm more limited where I can go at night because just people, how people drive around here at night, and you've seen the cart, it takes up almost a full car lane. And
yeah. And
unfortunately, from the weight of it, because it's like 700 pounds, wow. I can't go that fast over it because we all know Midland roads suck.
Yeah,
so
man.
as soon as you hit a bump, you're like,
trying to keep it up, yeah.
Get it straight and stuff again, so, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta go easy, man.
Yeah.
That's a lot of weight.
That's like even the mixer, I was here with you guys for the chamber mixer, come 7 o'clock. I was like, you guys are supposed to be over, and
it's getting dark.
It's getting dark. I gotta go,
Yeah.
I wish I could have stayed longer with the crowd and all that, but
But again,
even just right up the street, going up Big Spring. I don't know, it's kind of scary.
But again, there's very nice and thoughtful people here.
Yeah.
This Tracy followed you.
She did.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And actually, anytime I've ridden it, I haven't had anyone really be rude. I've had people, either just driving behind me and then coming around, or a few people honking and waving, but I haven't had any really rude people yet, so that's really cool.
Good. I guess coming from New York, right? Is that a big change?
Oh, yeah. New York, everybody's honk, get out of the way. Yeah,
Yeah, everybody's going. Yeah, so big culture difference down here. Yeah, for sure. Well, Mike, man, you got anything else to say to the people of Midland and where they can find you? Tell them again where they can find you at and social media and all that stuff, man.
Yeah, sure. You can pre-order our bagels for delivery on Monday through Wednesday at tallcitybagel.com. We're an affiliate with Favor, so we do deliveries with them on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Thursday and Friday, starting this Thursday, we'll be starting the new Coney Island Dogs right here in the BAM parking lot.
Bam.
And then Saturday and Sunday, we're in the lot right between Midland Self Storage and the Family Clinic right up the street on 3618 North Big Spring, right across the street from, is it Declata, or what's the big office complex called?
Man.
I always go blank. I always go bad on it too.
Clandestine.
Clandestine, that's it. Clandestine.
Yeah.
So I always want to call it the Casa, and I'm like, no, that's not it. That's the pizza guys. So and from there I just get stuck on it. Yeah. So we're right across the street from that. We're there on Saturday and Sunday, starting at 11:30.
That's just north of Wadley.
Right, just north of Wadley. And you get to the Veterans Airport, you went a little too far.
Yeah.
So.
And then Friday, Saturday, right here at BAM, 3107.
Yep, gonna have the dogs, so chips, cooler of soda. You know, we're here for you.
Man, I can't wait, Mike. Get that Friday afternoon dog. Oh yeah, man.
You'll have one Thursday too.
We'll see, man.
We both know we love the food.
Oh yeah, man. Can't complain about that. That's for sure. Well, Mike, it was a pleasure having you on, man. Thanks for coming on. And,
thank you for having me. It's been a real honor, and thank you for all you've always done for me, always helping promote me and all that too. I mean, it's people like you and Jamie and Ruben and people like that have always been behind us and promoted us and helped us out and all that. It's why I'm at where I'm at now. I mean, without you guys, I probably wouldn't be here either.
Well, man, it's a team effort.
Yep.
Right. It takes a what do they say? It takes a village. It takes a community.
Yep.
So let's build, man.
Yep, exactly. We're all here for the long run, so let's get it.
Let's get it.
Yep.
I think those are good words to go out on, man. Let's get it.
All right, let's get it.
Later on.
Thank you, Angel.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mike.